This week on the Ospreys Eyrie, we look forward to the South Africa tour, look through some permutations, and get hopeful about the Ospreys' chance of making the playoffs. Stay tuned. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm joined by Grant, recently retired. How are you going, Grant?
So far, so good. 6 days in and loving it.
And I'm joined by Josh, as always. How are you doing, Josh?
Very good, thank you. Looking forward to another game this weekend.
It's another game this weekend. Some back to regular rugby. No woke European bollocks coming in this week. And it's not particularly exciting, but we are going away to South Africa, which is, let's put it, difficult in past for at least more than the other teams. How are we feeling about it?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, isn't it? Always tough, but we've had decent results in South Africa over the last couple of seasons, so yeah, there's no reason why we can't look to pick up 2 wins.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, we have had a bit of success, haven't we?
Stormers away last season comes to mind. Lions away to an extent in the EPCR.
That's a pretty fantastic result, isn't it? One season.
Yeah.
It's going to do it again now in the next 2 weeks.
Exactly. And I think if you had to pick 2 teams in South Africa to play, you probably would go for Sharks and Lions. I know Sharks on paper, as we'll probably come across later, are very strong, but they often don't necessarily play up to the sum of their parts. And Lions, I'd say, we've had good results in the past, so there's no reason why we can't beat them either.
I do always find it quite funny seeing the Sharks scored on paper, and then you look at some of the results, it's like, oh, they only beat Zebra by 1 point at home.
Oh, exactly, yeah. The fact they didn't get top 8 last year is ridiculous with the squad they've got.
It's absurd. You're looking at some of the names that started from last week. It's literally just the Springbok tight 5. Then you have the Hendrickson brothers at 9 and 10 with the Kanyam and Pamela Pimpy 13, 14. Andreas Hazen, their inside centre. It's like, how are they not doing better? And yet, every time I see a team play them, they feel awkwardly confident.
Yeah, no.
Shouldn't be the case, shouldn't it? Like you said, on paper, off the scale, on paper, God, as good as Leinster squad-wise, news darn it.
Yeah.
But they don't always put it together, do they?
No.
It'll be quite interesting to see who we've travelled with and who our squads are for the games going ahead. I imagine we're taking a pretty exhaustive squad. I think rumour is Justin Tipperix has stayed at home. He's been spotted at St Helens today.
Yeah, I can confirm that. Yeah, the open day today, Tips was wondering about chatting with people, so safe to say he's saving himself for the playoffs. He's going to get there. Just need 10 points in 2 games, that's all.
When and not if.
Yeah.
But I think it's just he's still going to be a massive loss for these next 2 games where we do really need results if we want to keep our season going, annoyingly. Who do you boys do you think is going to have a big tour in South Africa? Who's going to love it the most?
For me, fast tracks, I'd say some of your quicker back row players, like Harry Deeves, I could see doing really well. He's always awesome, but I could see him doing really well. Similar with Keelan. Keelan, fast track, there's no one I'd really rather see in a bit of space. So again, I think he's going to be awesome. So yeah, I think a blend of pace in your back line with a strong front 5 who's going to give you at least parity at scrum time is really important.
I mean, we've looked pretty decent at scrum time for the last sort of 2 weeks. Dragons got the edge on initially, but we sort of fought it back as the game came on, which is encouraging. Ben Warren is doing wonders around the park and is certainly learning his trade still at scrum time, at least at the elite level.
It'd be interesting to see that, isn't it? Whether we start Ben Warren and then bring Tom Boxer on to shore up the scrum, because if you're in a tight game and Tom doesn't make it to the end, then there's a concern, isn't there, about what could happen in terms of a few penalties in a tire inside. So Well, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Warren starts getting like he did against the Dragons, and then see how he does in the long. If he's doing fine, leave him there, and if he's not, then you've got one of the best tight ends in the URC sitting on the bench.
I think you almost want to see their selection first, and then kind of react to that. I know we probably won't be able to do that, but if they go with Nche and Vincent Koch to start, you're kind of like, okay, we probably want to start Beaufort just to give that parity from the start, and then because I just worry about Ben Warren against either of those. He's still a really young tight head, and it's a lot. But then again, around the field, you could argue Ben Warren's a lot stronger. So it's difficult balance, isn't it? Whereas I think Tommy's probably not the most agile around the field.
I don't know the stats, but it'd be interesting to see how many scrums are in a typical Sharks game.
Yeah. Exactly.
They are fairly physical, they are fairly tough, but it's not necessarily set piece is the big thing. They're just big and strong and really tough to break down. Normally tough to break down, but you would say this season and last season, maybe not.
It feels like they're vulnerable in open play a bit. It's like it feels like their set piece on paper is just sort of untouchable, and yet, like, you're going to have to attack them from open play, which maybe plays into us a little bit, especially under Mark Jones recently, how much we've been happy to play ball in hand and how happy we've been to kick the ball away going forward.
Yeah, I had a look at some of their stats, and I think that definitely supports what you're saying in terms of they like playing ball in hand. They probably play quite similar to us, really, where they like keeping possession. They're one of the lowest, they're 13th, I think, for kicks from hand in the league. Again, second bottom for tackles made, which indicates that they're probably getting a lot of possession. And then third for offloads. So if we can try and stop that offloading game, I think that's going to be really important. And then Shatuka in their back row is top in the league for line-out steals. So I think Adam Beard's going to be absolutely crucial at line-out time. It's really good that he came back fit against the Dragons because I think he's going to be really needed.
Yeah, it seems like somewhere where he'd just be able to come in and shore it up when it needs to be done. Hence, British and Irish line, Adam Beard.
Yeah, exactly.
Side tension. Do you think he's getting called up in the squad? Any Ospreys called up in the squad on Thursday? Other than maybe Jack and Derry?
I'll let you go first, Grant.
Genuinely, I don't expect anyone apart from those two from the Ospreys to go. In terms of both, does maybe Beard might end up going, but I would very much doubt that. There's just so much competition in the packs. Looking, there's some real quality around the other international sides. I think we Ospreys in particular will struggle to get any more than that. But it's probably still a fair share compared to how many Welsh people will be going in total.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm with you on that. I think Beard was so unlucky to get injured when he did and miss out on the Six Nations, because I think that would have been his big window of opportunity. And I think there's just so much strength in the second row that it's going to be tough for him to go, isn't it? But I think Dowie, even though he didn't play much in the Six Nations, I think he's in a position where he's probably competing with maybe Jamie George, Dave Cherry for that, or Ronan Kelleher for that third hooker spot.
Yeah.
But he's the sort of player I think Andy Farrell really like. And I can see him, if he does go as that third hooker, I can see him pushing himself into the test squad, definitely.
He's different to the other hookers, isn't he? The way he carries is quite different. Yeah, he's proper bull-looking ball carrier.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, he carries like a back row because he's a converted back row at the end of the day.
Big back row.
He converts like... He carries like prime Scott Quinnell, almost. Coming off the back of... You just imagine Derry Lake coming off the back of a scrum and dowling into you, Hemestein. And I feel that's like how half his tries for Wales have come off the back of them all, picking and going.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, I think he's probably even better than I'd say Dan Sheehan at carrying in heavy traffic. They sort of stick Dan Sheehan in the wider channels a lot for Ireland.
Yeah.
But he's not as good when you get him close to the ruck. And he was fairly anonymous on the weekend, I thought, against Northampton. I don't know if you guys saw that game, but it wasn't his best game. So I could see him, definitely getting himself into the test side if he goes.
Yeah, he just offers something different. I don't think we need to wax too lyrical about Jack because realistically he should be starting.
You don't realise how good international back rows are at the moment, and where you talk to a selection of English people and they wouldn't have him on the tour even because there's just so much competition. But time and time again, okay, he just proves himself, doesn't he? He's an outstanding player.
It's like I think the most interactions with basically most actions in a game in the Six Nations. He did I think 312 across all 5 games, which was 50 higher than the next best player, which was Caelan Doris. Which is I think it's heading a ruck, making a tackle, making a carry. And to have someone of that work rate, I just think is immense. It's so clearly Andy Farrell surely goes, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he starts.
It's not just the work rate; it's what he does with the ball as well, isn't it? It's that he can appear in the wide channels. Okay, he can kick, which is a bit scary. Okay, on top of the rest of the things he can do, and he tackles like a monster as well.
He's just a complete player, isn't he?
Yeah.
He delivers in big moments as well. The amount of times I've seen us under the cosh, teams peppering against their own line, we manage to just win a turnover, and I don't even really need to look who it is. It seems to be Jack appearing with the ball, and other players around him seem to love playing with him as well. He's just a talismanic leader. People just want to follow him. Any Ospreys fan will tell you who gets watched him week in, week out that he's different class. He's awesome.
I think those two again. I'm expecting them to have fairly soft run-outs in South Africa, just on a minute management. Mind you, Derry would absolutely love it down there, but it feels like maybe it was time to give some other guys a go. Got plenty of youngsters biting at their heels, ready to put their arm up. Be interesting to feel what the squad would be. Out of curiosity, what do we think needs to happen if we were to make the playoffs? Josh, I know you've been looking at some permutations almost.
Yeah, because I know a lot of fans will probably thought after the Cardiff result that we're not making the playoffs now, and it's out of our hands. But I do genuinely think with 10 points, it's very, very realistic that we make the playoffs. Because I was just having a look at what points the teams around us are on, and realistically, the top 4 is probably set in stone with the amount of points they've got. Potentially, I'll come on to it, but the closest team that can make it is probably the Stormers with the results they've got, the teams they've got left. So at the moment, you've got Cardiff in 5th on 46 points, currently 8 points ahead of us, and they've got Bulls and Stormers away. Obviously, all the Welsh teams are now away to South African opposition. I think the Bulls are pushing for top 2, so they're going to need 2 wins if they're going to overtake Glasgow. So I think Cardiff will do well to get 1 point out of that, if not no points. And then similarly, they got the Stormers next. And again, I could see 1 point at a push away at Stormers, if I'm honest. Cardiff haven't historically done that well in South Africa. So that would get them up to 48, which would be the same amount of points we'd be on if we got two 5-pointers. But we'd be ahead of them on wins. So that would put us ahead of them. Then you come down to Stormers, who I think are gone, to be honest, because they've got the Dragons at home next. And then they've got the Blues at home, and as I've just alluded to, Cardiff at home. And as I've just alluded to, they're going to get 2 5-pointers from that, so that gets them up to 55. So they're out of sight, realistically, and I think they're pushing for top 4. And then Scarlets, currently in 7th on 43, have the Lions away and Sharks away, so the same teams as us, but in reverse. Again, Scarlets haven't necessarily performed that well in South Africa, and I potentially can see them losing both of those games and getting potentially a couple of losing bonus points from those. So
I think a few Scarlets fans might disagree there, Josh, in terms of the way they've been going recently. They just tanked Leinster, don't they?
Yeah, but beating Leinster seems to be a common thing nowadays.
Yeah, Leinster on a bit of a losing run at the moment. I think they're on a downward spiral. Yeah, I think that's the toughest one. I think Scarlets could potentially pick up a result, but this is wishful thinking. But I think with 2 losing bonus points, even if they were to say, let's say, win 1 and get a losing bonus point from the other, that would still only put us level on points with us if we were to get 2 try bonuses. So yeah, Scarlets would probably, if they get 2 losing bonus points, finish on 45. So they'd be 3 points behind us. And then you've got Benetton, who are currently in 8th, who have got Glasgow at home, but Glasgow are looking to again push for top 2. So you'd imagine they'll probably lose that one. And then Munster away, which I think they'd be lucky to get a point out of that. So that would mean Benetton finish on 43. So again, behind our total of 48 if we get 2 try bonuses. Munster have Ulster home, which I think will be a 5-pointer for Munster. Ulster aren't looking great. And they have Benetton away, which I've just alluded to. I think Munster will win both those games, which will put them on to 50, which I think will put them into 6th place in the league, based off these predictions. And then you've got Edinburgh, who are currently 1 place ahead of us, same amount of points. And they've got Connacht away, which is a tough fixture. They could get 1 point out of that, maybe more. And then they've got Ulster at home, which could be a 4-pointer. So that puts them up to 43. And then we come to us. We've got Sharks away, Lions away. It's obviously going to be 2 5-pointers, which gets us up to 48. Which I could see getting us into 7th or 8th. With 2 bonus point wins, I think we sneak in. It's whether we get the 2 bonus point wins for me.
I think the level is going to be 46, 47 to make playoffs.
Yeah.
I think if we can get 2 wins in the bout, and it'll come down to some tiebreaker scenario.
The lowest points, isn't it, to get into the top 8 in as seasons, because everyone's just so compressed and together. Yeah. Those points are all shared out amongst a lot of teams.
Yeah, I've got 48 as the amount you need to get in. But obviously, that's dependent on a lot of different results. But that's also dependent on Cardiff only picking up 2 points in South Africa, and the Scarlets only picking up 2 points as well. So it could even be higher than 48. But I think 48 is the amount we need. I think without the 2 try bonuses, we might struggle to get in. That's my prediction. But I think fast track, I don't think 4 tries will be an issue. It's whether we can keep their score down enough to get the win.
I don't think 4 tries has been an issue since January, realistically.
Yeah.
I think now that we have sort of these ball playing back rows coming back in, I'm referring to mainly Harry Deves, Morgan Mortar is hitting a vein of form. Them coming back in just helps us link the attack a lot better. It means we have that threat in midfield rather than just on the wings, where we looked a bit shallow against Cardiff and Lyon. And hopefully it can inspire a bit more running rugby. And it's not like the Sharks or the Lions are particularly great defensive teams.
Yeah.
The Lions got turned over pretty comprehensively by Benetton in their own park about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you look at the performance we put against Lions last year, okay, and we didn't have the strongest team on the pitch, did we, in that game? And we played some good rugby, but the defence, it was fairly holy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think if we can get through the Sharks, I think that momentum will carry us through and get us the 5 points against Lions. But so having a look at Sharks' record, and they've actually only lost 2 games at home this year. Once against Leinster, and the other one against Toulouse.
Okay. There goes all the positive.
But
cheers, Josh, ruined my day.
But those are the 2 teams who just bottled it in the semi-finals of the Champions Cup. So they're bottle jobs. So I think we beat the Sharks, 100%. It's not a doubt.
I think it'll be a good game. I think it's going to be certainly worth watching on Friday night. Yeah. Weird bloody kickoff time, 6 p.m. kickoff on Friday night, which is it feels wrong morally.
Well, it might make your evening or spoil your entire evening. Then it won't be over fairly early.
Sorry, exactly. It could be a lot worse. Let's move on then. Let's have a look back at some of the results in the community throughout the last week, if we have them to hand, because at the end of the day, it's a community club. There's been quite a lot of SRC action, I know, is going along, which maybe not the results we'd like. But
apologies if I've missed any out, okay, because normally Nick Spoon feeds me the results, okay. There's only a handful of fixtures left because the normal leagues are coming to an end. So League 5 West Central, Cwntwch 5, Bonamine 7. So Bonnie are unbeaten for the season in there. League 5, I think it's 17 wins and 1 draw. That's a fair result for them. The other result in League 5 West Central, Pyle 12, Banwen 29. League 1 West Central, Birch Grove 17, Bridgend Athletic 29. Bridgend Athletic finished top of the league. League 1 West, Wanaway 34, Hendy 12. Ended up 4th in League 1 West. They're the only Australian club, I think, in that league. The rest of them are all Scarlets. National Championship West, Kenfig Hill 21, winning against Gowton 15. Ammanford 17, Tartar Steel with an away win, 20 points there. So Tartar finished second to Smethy Wanderers in the National Championship West. Tondi, big result against Gorsainan, 47-26 winners. Smethy Wanderers ended up top of the league, beating Gleneath 36-10. Crymych 40, Trebanos 26. And the shocking result for, as a Neath boy in the Admiral Premiership, Merthyr 104, Neath 0. Now, that's first versus third in that league. Okay, but it's Neath's third game in 7 days. You don't really expect that from like a semi-pro type team, would you, in terms of that amount of fixtures? But that's what's going to happen at the end of the season sometimes. And look at the consequences.
I did see some Neath boys whinging on Twitter about not getting support from the Ospreys, which I feel bad for. But at the same time,
yeah, but you would have thought if players are going to be going anywhere, they're going to be going into Super Rugby Cymru, and they can't see them playing in the Premiership these days. But yeah, still, it's a result which is a measure of the variation and the ups and downs in terms of Welsh rugby there. That concludes this week's results. Again, if I've missed any, I apologise.
Yeah, decent games there. It's maybe, hopefully, giving us a little bit of promise going into this weekend. Let's have a slightly deeper dive then on this Sharks game coming ahead. And I think the place to start is, who do we think we're going to start? Who do we think is going to play? Quite frankly, are we going to go all out and try and get into playoffs, try and get into Europe proper, or are we going to give some boys a rest to this Sharks game?
First game for me has got to be all out. If there's still a chance of getting through, you know what's coming in the second game. First game's got to be 100% effort, 100%. As Josh mentioned earlier, probably a big, angry, nasty front five. You know, we've got plenty of athletic back rowers who might do well on that sort of pitch, and the backs are almost just picking themselves. You can pick and choose 9. The rest of them are almost like you don't even have to look at the team sheet. You can guess the rest of the from 10 to 15.
No, 100%. Yeah, I think
it will be exciting to see Gasende back on the dry tracks.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, do you think the Sharks are expecting the kick-offs this week?
I want to see who can jump higher, even Etzebeth with a lifting pod or Gasende. Well, still back Gasende.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair to say Casendo will definitely be started. And you mentioned Keelan, didn't you, Josh? But I think one player we didn't mention earlier was Jack Walsh. I think Jack Walsh on a dry pitch might be a fairly entertaining spectacle as well.
Oh, definitely. That back three is so exciting. It's worth the admission fee just for that.
So who do you think will be in the front row? Because like I said, we've got choices in terms of who we start, haven't we?
I think Garton starts either way, just because he's a nasty prick. I think he's going to get low and chop down big boys for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you can try and limit their big boys' carrying ability, it probably just means they're going a bit side to side. And that's going to help us a lot in trying to force a turnover and try and play on some counter-attack ball.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say Garton. I'd say Dowie Lake as well at hooker. Just good scrummager, really amazing around the park, and he'll be hopefully off the back of celebrating his line selection. So he'll be ready for a big game.
Well, even if he isn't selected, he'll be looking to prove why he should have been selected. Arguably.
Yeah.
There's no way to say I'm one of the best hookers in the world by smashing CAC or even Express backwards 10 metres.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think the difficult one is whether you go Ben Warren for his work around the loose, or do you go for Tom Beaufort at scrum time? I imagine, as Grant sort of said, they'll look at the stats at how many scrums there actually are in South Africa and potentially weigh up the pros and cons of that. So it should be dry ball, dry pitch. Is not too much excuse for too much knocking on anyway. So
I think we start with Ben Warren just because he gets around the park better. Like, be able to get him out for 45-50 minutes if the scrum's getting... If it is turning out to be a shit day, both are coming on and straight up the scrum for the last 30 minutes of the tight game feels like the way it should go.
It's not a bad balance as well, is it? If you start in Gareth Thomas and Eyrie Lake, okay, and if you are substituting the entire front row, it's not a bad balance having both Sam Parry to come on with Gareth Phillips, is it?
No, I think that's a really good point. To be fair, in terms of you've got that experience, one experienced tight head with one less experienced loose head, and then vice versa. So I'm with you on that.
I mean, that's what I'd do, at least personally. I think that's what we'd all do at this point. Realistically.
I would definitely trust Duncan and Mark to make better decisions than us, though.
Yeah, like, whatever reasoning, I believe that they'll do it better, and they'll know more about it. But based on my limited rugby knowledge...
We'll see if they copy us.
Yeah, that's the idea.
They'll go for Cam Jones now. Cause
yeah.
Which one?
Yeah, both.
I think the biggest selection headache goes in the second row. In that we've had a load of boys come back fit. Adam Bidd's obviously playing well. Will Spencer's on great form. I think Ospreys Supporters Club Player of the Month. Well deserved. Mind.
Oh, yeah. It's great signing Will Spencer for us. You see him with ball in hand, okay, you wouldn't expect that. You look at the guy, he doesn't look like he's going to be dummying and making breaks, but he has a go.
It feels like every time I've watched him play at start, he's just made a line break for no reason.
People don't expect it, that's the reason. That's how he's making the breaks. But, I'd be picking two big and two nasty second rows. So, Rhys Davis would have been in the picture when he's come back, he's playing well, but the way he left the pitch last time round didn't look great. I think Spencer and Beard might well be starting, but you never know.
Yeah, that's what I've got down, if I'm honest. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd go with those two.
I'd be tempted to go with those and then bring James Fender off the bench. Yeah. And then probably go with a 6-2 if... I don't know if it's Mark Jones's style. I feel like a 6-2 with James Ratty and James Fender coming off a bench. Or do we want to start Ratty at 6?
But we got Will Griff back in the equation as well. It's depends what you want to do with a 6 again, doesn't it? Because you can go lightweight and fast, or you can do Josh's favour and put a big nasty 6 in, and we got a couple of choices now, haven't we?
Yeah, I've gone a bit. Yeah, I've gone a bit different this week with the 6. I've gone for Jack Morgan at 6 with Deves at 7. More just because fast track. I want a dynamic back row, and I think with those second rows you've got some decent line out options in there. That's what I've gone for.
I wouldn't be too shocked if we start using Morsey as a line out option, given he's 6'2", 6'3". It's fairly lightweight. It might be somewhere where he can really excel going forward if he can get the traits in, sort of like a young Justin. Morgan Morse reminds me of a young Sam Warburton too much, and Warburton's always a pretty good line-out operator at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Because I guess you could get Jack coming off the tail gunner of the line-out, that line that Morgan Morse ran against Dragons. Get Jack running that line maybe, if you're using Morse as the line-out option.
I just want to see Deevesy start.
Yeah.
He was a very angry, enthusiastic player last time, wasn't he?
Oh, he was awesome. Yeah. No, he's brilliant. I think he's got a point to prove as well because he could be in and around the summer tour. If Jack's away with Wales, with the Lions, we're saying, Deves has got to be pushing for that Japan tour.
It's like before he got injured with his concussion, training in Gloucester, I think he just played for Leinster at home, which he was awesome, and was probably deservedly man of the match. I'm pretty sure. It was that, and I got the game that just after Leinster was it Glasgow away.
Yeah,
which he looked pretty awesome in again. Just doing the nuts and bolts and being quite honestly a prick in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Him and Morsey bringing back all the best bits of shithousery back to back row play.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And they're the kind of players who they won't really care about the Sharks' names on the back of their shirts. Doesn't matter if it's an Etzebeth or a Cock or whoever. He's going to be coming and chopping them down.
He's got no respect for the opposition or himself, has he?
No, exactly. So yeah, I'm glad he's back. To be honest, yeah, I'd be starting him.
I think it should be starting. I think that's a pretty sound 15 then. I think I just need to say, what do you think the score's going to be, gents? Josh, do you want to lead us in?
Okay. I feel like I've said Ospreys going to get 10 points now, so I have to back them. I'm going to say Ospreys to get the 4 tries and Ospreys by 4. I'm going to go with.
Tight.
Yeah. Just to edge through.
But
Positive vibes. Can't say they're going to lose. We're definitely going to get 4 points.
Oh, there you go.
4 tries, more to the point. 4 tries for definite, okay? And I think we might have enough, so I'll go Ospreys by 3. Let's go. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Surely it's going to be a high-scoring game. In the 40s, both sides.
Yeah.
Annoyingly, I don't think I can back the boys. And the Sharks have won the last 2 games in the last 2 minutes, both times. And I have a feeling they're going to snatch it away from us. I think we're going to get the bonus point. Probably 2 at the end of the day. I think I said that on the wrap last night. Ospreys Sharks by 3.
1 score game.
1 score game.
Yeah.
I don't see it being a blowout either way, which is good watching on a Friday night, good watching on Scrum 5. I will ask for one more thing, boys. What's a funny thing that's going to happen during the game?
I think for me, it's not so funny, but I think the front row that starts will all get a try. Will all score. So I think Gareth Thomas, Darry Lake, and Ben Warren, if they will start, I think they will all score.
That is quite funny, to be fair.
I can see a young Osprey supporter called Nick Williams appearing and being interviewed on Premier Sport. Flag around his neck.
In a similar sort of vein, I see the ball being kicked out and hitting Nick on the head. A clip of ball kicked out and the Premiership lands on someone's head, just coming out the bar with 2 beers in his hand.
Like that, yeah.
Right, Nick, if you're listening, just keep your eyes out for loose balls.
Try and stay away from the camera crew as well. It might just help. I think other than that, I don't think there's anything more to go through this week. There's not been any news from an Ospreys perspective. A few rumours in and about, nothing concrete or worth mentioning here. I think it's time we said goodbye then, gents. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to like, share and subscribe on YouTube. We're chasing towards 2,000 subscribers on our Wrap YouTube channel, which is insane, to be honest. If you fancy dropping us a follow on the socials, please do. It'd be a lot deal to us. And until then, we'll hopefully chat to you with some good news next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.